I experienced several events this year that really, delicious contrast we'd have to call it, because, boy, they really got me looking at myself and who I am in new ways. We have an internet business and a community related to our business that come to message boards. And a small group of them decided it would be fun to break into the backside of our site, our server and our site, for reasons that are their own, and mess with our settings and do whatever it is that they wanted to do, which resulted in our site dying at one point. We built it up again, and our message boards dying at one point, and we built them up again. And these were people, some of them who were close enough to us that they had access to the passwords that we used before they decided that they wanted to go the direction of mischievous playfulness. And there are aspects of myself that absorbed and integrated it and moved on and loved the challenge and the adventure and the learning that I've gained through it. And the place where I continue to do that thing that I do, there's two areas. One is I want to understand why it happened, and I know that keeps me focused on it, as opposed to just letting myself line up with the rocket of desire that came from it. And the other area is when I anticipate these people wanting to come back to the community, I feel apprehension and obligation. Obligation, I think, being one of my main vibrations that got me wrapped up in it, in the distress to begin with. My sense is that I love to be an uplifter in a very impersonal kind of way, because my freedom is so important to me. I tend to like my interactions with people to be short and fun and lively and happy, and then I travel along my merry way. And I get caught when I start to feel obligated, when I feel them wanting more from me than I prefer to give, and I feel obligated, and I give it until I get irritated, and then I, in an irritated way, send them along.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? Because as you are interacting with other people, there's quite a bit of variety in that which you prefer. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that is most fascinating about co-creating, which is coming together with others, is that all of you are multifaceted. So you may have one point within you, one vibrational emitter, that really lines up with a point in another, but you may have other facets that do not. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to chew around this just a little bit, because there is so much that you are offering here, and there is so much value for so many as we walk not so gingerly, but rather boldly through this conversation.
Good.
Now, one of the things that we notice as we watch so many of you in your interpersonal relationships is that you forget the most important part of this business of deliberate creation. And that is, remember that you are a vibrational offerer that is always being matched. So, when you realize that you are a vibrational offerer that is always being matched, then you don't have to worry about what else is out there. You only have to pay attention to what you are offering vibrationally, which will be matched.
Right.
So, you don't have to worry about whether there are aspects of people that might touch you in a harmful way, because if you're not lining up with them vibrationally, even if those aspects exist, they would not touch you in a harmful way. It is, in fact, your guardedness that makes you line up with those aspects of those people that you feel guarded about. You said earlier that there's a part of you that wants to know what caused this. How did it come about? And we want to give you something else that we think is more powerful first, and maybe it might even be powerful enough that you don't need to go back and then address that. And that is that you never get it done, and you cannot get it wrong. And the reason that those two statements are so important And the reason that they tie together so powerfully is the reason that you can never get it wrong is because you never get it done. So even though you may stand in a place that feels like you've gotten it wrong because it isn't done, it can't really be wrong because now from your now more information, as you so eloquently stated, from this new wanting, from this new information, from this new more powerful emanating of desire, all you have to do is line up with your new desire and everything else will come into alignment. So what you are grappling with here is the thing that all physical humans in their interaction with each other grapple with. It's how can I maintain my own vibrational countenance and not be affected by the vibrations of those that I'm allowing myself to observe. And we think that you've been through this before, and we think that it is the reason, in fact, that you've come so clearly to the determination that you like short, quick, happy, brief interactions. Because when you don't let people get too close to you, they can't get in too deep. And you've had experience in the past where the deeper in they get, the more trouble they cause you. And so you go into relationships of all natures, but especially in this situation of a business nature. You went into this relationship with that guarded vibration within you because you've been there before. Mm-hmm. And so we think it would be enough to say, well, what caused it is that vibration of having been there before and that soft memory of having been there before. And you never really dealt with that memory of having been there before. Instead, you just said, well, I'll just choose brief, happy, peppy relationships. But then you got entangled into something that required much more. In other words, more time, more people, the nature of the situation caused you to make decisions that sort of violated that other decision that was within you. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing that we think would help you to clean all this up so that as you move forward, you will not have another experience and another experience that matches it. And that is in recognizing that while it may seem prudent to feel guarded about those that get in too close, it never works anyway, because the more guarded you feel, the more they get in close relative to the things you feel most guarded about. In other words, it's just the way law of attraction works. So instead what you're wanting to say is, I don't need to feel guarded because I am the maintainer of my vibration. Esther said to Jerry a few weeks ago, after listening to so much on the television that was so upsetting, and she knew she was being drawn into it, and not wanting to go there, but still going there more than she wanted to, and feeling a little less good every day that she did it. And then she said to Jerry one day, wouldn't it be nice if our guidance system was so strong that it sort of like hit us over the head rather than these soft, subtle little negative emotions? In other words, don't you think it would be nice if every time you thought a thought that was really not going to lead somewhere that you wanted to go, that was sort of like electrocution or something, where so you just don't go there? And Jerry did not wholeheartedly agree with her, but he got the sense of what she was talking about. And then the television was on while she was fixing dinner, and then they had dinner in the motor coach, and now Esther is washing the dishes. And as she is washing the dishes, she gets this horrible knot in her stomach. It is so strong that it almost doubles her over. And she wipes her hands and goes into where Jerry is, and she says to him, how are you feeling? And he said, better, before you came here and asked me that. And Esther said, I was just wondering if we ate something inappropriate. I'm feeling really, really bad. And Jerry began to smile, and he said, let's go talk to Abraham. So they went into the front cabin of the coach, and Esther did her best to relax a little bit and got feeling better. And then Jerry said, Abraham, what's happened to Esther? And we said, she's been listening to the television regarding the subject of anthrax. And while she was washing the dishes, she thought of all kinds of terrible things that could be done with it, spending about 5 minutes in anticipation, and her earlier wish was granted. In other words, you get to choose the level of sensitivity you have to your guidance system. And when you choose to be very sensitive, then when you come across a guarded thought, that's what Esther was on. Different subject, but same subject. When you come across a guarded thought, and you can tell early on that you don't want to go there. In other words, don't you remember having conversations when you were younger, or don't you hear the youngsters even now saying, oh, let's not go there? Isn't there some subject in your life experience that you recall that now you've trained yourself just to not go there because you remembered you didn't like it, you remembered that it didn't feel good every time you thought about it, and now you're relieved that you hardly ever think about it? And don't you feel sort of strong and sure when that subject sort of wafts through the airwaves and you begin to pick it up and then you say, oh no, I'm not going there, and you choose something else?
Yes.
And so that's the thing that we're wanting you to begin to do about all painful thoughts. And some thoughts are more painful than others, but as you stay with a thought longer, it can become more painful. And sometimes you've had experiences that are so painful that even though the vibration is still within you, you say, oh, I'm not going to go there. But then aftermath of that painful vibration is still within you. And you don't allow yourself to go there so you don't ever have those big experiences anymore. But there's enough aftermath that you could clean up if you were willing to do it, you see.
I am willing.
And so that's the thing that we think that you're really wanting to hear here, is that you felt guarded, and that's why you attracted something that was very worthy of feeling guarded about. And you don't need to feel guarded, and in fact, feeling guarded never serves you, because the more guarded you feel, the more you attract the stuff that you would be guarded about. And the only remedy ever is cleaning up your own vibration, which means finding other things that are so compelling that you go there easily without allowing much rippling of the negative vibration to get underway.
I believe this is that thing that I do. And I would appreciate it if you could help me get a feel and a sense for a shift in that vibration. You know what I'm asking?
Yes. That thing that she does, you know what she's talking about. If you've been listening to us for a little while, we were saying that all of you would be in a place of receiving all that you want. You would be in a place of utter well-being if it weren't for that thing that you do. And the message there is that pure positive energy is flowing to you and would dominate your vibration if you were not doing that thing. And doing that thing is always accompanied by negative emotion. And so, chew with us a little bit about the kinds of thoughts you catch yourself in the middle of when you recognize that you're doing that thing.
Okay. I'm on the back side of the site checking the stats, and I see that a couple of these people are on our site, and I anticipate them contacting me and saying, I'd like to come back into the community. And it takes me right back into what will I do? How do I feel? I'm apprehensive. I'd rather they didn't. I should let them.
Well, now let's carry this out a little further. What it's saying is someone out there. You see, this is not so different than the terrorists that your world is worrying about. In other words, There are people out there with intentions to do harm, it seems. And because they have demonstrated the ability to do it before, I am now afraid that they might do it again, and I'm standing in fear, not knowing when they might strike next. In other words, it has a sort of familiar ring to it, doesn't it? And so, do you believe that it is necessary for you to put protective barrier between you and your computer terrorist?
What I believe, and this is where it gets, I can use your help here. I believe several things. One, I believe that they're as wonderful now as they were when I was close to them and loving them. They're still those people. And for whatever reasons that they got involved in what they did, I don't need to know what they are, but everybody does all kinds of different things, and they're still okay people. So I believe that. And I believe that there's a part of me that feels obligated to reconnect with them, and I resist that feeling of obligation. I just like to move, frankly, in my own personal life, I just like to move on.
Hear the contradiction that you're offering here.
Good.
Because what you're saying is, we want to help you to identify what that feeling of obligation is just a little bit. Because the word obligation is a stinky word to you, because it almost violates a feeling of freedom.